May I call the meeting to order, please? We have quorum. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to meeting number 19 of the Economic Development Committee. Welcome to members of the committee and obviously other members of council who may join us later. I don't see any here, but I'd also want to welcome the members of the public as well. And so for those of us that are in the room here, there is a screen at the back to my right, to many of you to your left, that provides real-time update concerning where we are on the agenda and what's coming up next. You can also follow us at home. The agenda is available online, and obviously you can watch the debate on your computer, your tablets, or smartphone at www.toronto.ca/council. The Economic Development Committee gratefully acknowledges that it's meeting on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit First Nation. This is home to a diverse group of Indigenous people. We are delighted to be meeting here on the territory of the Mississaugas Credit of the First Nation. New Credit of the First Nation. And so, members, just before I get to the agenda, I would like to welcome a new member of the amazing team that is the Economic Development team, and also consists of Tess as well. Pat, your team is part of our group. I would like to welcome Patrick Tobin, who is our new Director of Arts and Cultural Services. Mr. Tobin joins us from the federal government, where he served in a number of capacities, actually. He was the government's, I guess, lead in heritage managing arts grants and cultural grants, and I know that he has been instrumental in terms of assisting one of our amazing organizations, the Remix Project, which is now, it appears they're universal because everywhere I go, somebody tells me about Remix. So Patrick's had a hand in that. Most recently, he was with FedDev, and we know our relationship with FedDev is very strong, and so he has actually had a variety of exposure and experience with the City of Toronto, and it is my delight in welcoming Patrick to the team and also welcoming him to the family of the City of Toronto. So would you please stand, Patrick, and let's acknowledge Patrick. Thank you. And just for the record, I've had a number of meetings with Patrick and so on, and Mike, I think you made a great choice. Thank you. Thank you, the General Manager of Economic Development. Okay, members, thank you so much for being here. Yes, I'll get to that in 1 second. I'm now going to proceed. So are there any declaration of conflict of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Looking around the table, I see none. I'd like to ask for a confirmation of the minutes of January 13th. Councillor Vakadakis, thank you very much. We have a number of speakers and so on. So I'm just going to run through the agenda. Members, if you wish to hold an item, just let me know. I'll hold it in your name. We have item number 19.1. It's St. Patrick's Day's a parade presentation. I'll hold that. And we have Sean Ruddy is here. And I see my good friend as well, who is the Grand Marshal, I understand, Mr. Michael McCormick. And Michael, welcome. Good to see you. And Sean, and I'll get back to you in a moment. We're looking forward. Today is March 1st, right? So really looking forward to the days getting to St. Paddy's Day as quickly as possible. All right, moving on to item number 2, ED 19.2. Toronto's on-screen industry. We have great news, and I know that Mr. Zaib Sheikh, who is the Film Commissioner and Director of Entertainment Industries, will be speaking to us about the good news and so on. So I will hold that item. ED 19.3, Economic Development and Cultural Division 2016 report. We'll be hearing from the General Manager, Mike Williams, who will be holding that item as well. Moving on, members, to the action items. ED 19.4 is Israel and West Bank Innovation in Mission 2016. Councillor Frakadakis is moving that particular item in the report. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. ED 19.5, Toronto Youth Job Corps 2017-2020 Contract Authority. This is good news. It's money to be spent on young people. That's always a good investment. Councillor Frakadakis is moving that as well. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. ED 19.6, Business Improvement Areas 2017 Operating Budget Report number 3. If anyone has any questions, any issues with those? Okay. Councillor Holland, moving that? Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. ED 19.7, appointment to Business Improvement Area Boards of Management. Councillor Holland, Vice Chair Holland is moving that. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And ED 19.8, that is a review of the city's partnership with Harbourfront Centre. We have a speaker, and I know that we have questions on that item, so I'll hold that down. ED 19.9, the Toronto Economic Bulletin. I'm going to hold that, sorry, because I think I have a couple of questions on that. Madam Clerk, those are the items. All right, members. All things are green on my sheet, and then all things will be green on the first item. That is the St. Patrick's Day Parade presentation, and we have Sean Ruddy is here with us, and as I mentioned, Mike McCormick is here as well, and I understand, Mike, you are the Grand Marshal of this parade, of the Grand. You'll explain to me exactly what grand things you're up to.
Well, we came
Welcome.
we came here to announce that. So Michael McCormick is going to be our Grand Marshal. So thanks for doing that for us. So,
All right. Well, thank you.
Great job.
I think that's a big round of applause, Michael.
I think that's
Thank you.
important.
As long as there's green beer.
Yeah, there'll be green beer. I just want to say it was an honor for me to be invited to be the Grand Marshal, and I'm sure those responsibilities are going to be overwhelming and many. So I'm looking forward to it. But, you know, given the history of the St. Patrick's Day Parade and the long hiatus away from it, and it was reconstituted from 1927 to 1988, there was no St. Patrick's Day Parade. And what makes this particularly a very humbling and honorable thing that has happened to me is that my father, along with the other members of the St. Patrick's Day Committee, struck a new committee in 1987 and reconstituted the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And now it's the 30th anniversary, and I think at that time there was around 40,000 participants and the people watching the parade, and now it's grown to 500,000. So I'm very proud to be the Grand Marshal. I want to thank Sean and the committee for voting a lowly police officer association president as the Grand Marshal, and I thank them for what they bring to the city and recognizing some of the Irish culture and heritage. Thank you.
So does that mean it's inclusive then?
It is all inclusive.
Yeah, like me
You're
can
more than
attend?
welcome. Come on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to thank Mr. Williams for having us here today. It took a while to get here. We tried to get these meetings 3-4 times. They were put off, put back, but we're here now. I want to thank you very much for having this opportunity. I looked at the conversation started when I was looking at the Toronto Economic Development Council website, looking to see what was going on with arts, community, culture, and what have you. And I noticed that the St. Patrick's Day Parade was not on the radar, and it's still not as of today. It doesn't show up anywhere in the marketing. So we're not here for money. We don't look for funding. We raise our money outside with small business. We have a lot of local labor organizations, and we've gotten rid of a few of the more major people you would think would go to the banks. You don't see the MLSE, you won't see Toronto Hydro, you don't see Rogers on our doorstep. We've gone to organized labor, and they're the ones that make this parade happen. So I think I have an obligation to say thank you to all the different trade unions that make this parade happen. The other part that we need to talk about, I think, is that we have to put this on the radar going forward, where we're not going to have our hand out looking for money. We don't expect money. We just expect some support from the city and all the local councillors. Last year, I just did a little bit of a background check to see who was supporting it, who was tweeting this, Mr. Kelly, and we were talking about who was sending out messages, and I noticed that St. Patrick's has fallen off the radar. And we're bringing in a lot of out-of-town guests. We have 2 bands coming in from the U.S. With the overnight stays there alone, it's not something that you would you go over the top over, but it's an indication of as to where we're growing. We've grown this parade from the last 5 years. We've grown it to include 45 community groups that sit in every one of these constituents' ridings. So if you're representing any of the areas, whether it be the Jean Tweed Center, whether it be Best Buddies, whether it be the Right to Play, we have a presence free of charge for all these entries. Every musical group that comes into the parade, you need to know they're paid. We don't operate on the freemium. We pay all of our artists, every single artist. Whether they ask for it or not, they get an honorarium just to keep the playing field fair for everybody. So my ask is pretty simple, and that's just simple support using the tools that you already have in place. Repurpose a lot of your materials. Take your staff and tell the story. I'm not a digital. I have a rotary dial head still, so I'm the last guy to be talking about social Facebook. 2 years ago, we started. Apparently, we've got some serious traffic going on, and it's going to get heavier because I'm going to keep pushing. I've come around to a number of councillors' offices, and I've come right into Meech's to try and get the story told. And I want to thank Michael Ford, because he was the first one that took my call and made that happen, and he's not here today, unfortunately, but Michael Ford introduced me to the Economic Development Council, and that's why I'm here, and that's the end of my little story for you. So support us on March 19th. We appreciate it. Starts at 12 o'clock at St. George and Bloor. It's 3.5 kilometers long. There's 4,000 people in the line of march, and you'll recognize a lot of the community groups in there are within your own ridings, and we're going to make a point of giving out a St. Patrick's report card to the people in our ridings, and let them see a report card based on who's involved with the Irish community and who's with us and who's against us. We're all inclusive, but we're going to put the rubber to the road on that. You can see the Irish coming out now, eh? So yeah, I think it's only fair that we talk about who's with us and who's against us. If you're not with us, then you're against us. Pardon me? No, I don't think that's.
Right,
Yeah, I don't think that's what that is. The
Don,
permit.
short, just give me a minute, please. Councillor, there'll be an opportunity for you to have questions and to ask of the speaker. So if we can just kind of keep it in the quorum of the
Okay.
committee, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
So we have 4,000 people, as I said, and we have all kinds of different groups in that area, and we're looking to grow that with more community groups. So if you have any community groups within your riding that are looking for eyeballs, free of charge, and you have a nonprofit that are looking to get eyeballs, you'll see them. They'll be in our parade this year. One of the better ones that we've grown to is Jean Tweed Center for Women out of Etobicoke. They've come on for their first year, and the one that's grown, doubled in size this year is Boy Scouts are now up to 400 people, representing 150 flags for Canada's sesquicentennial. So I'm looking forward to seeing that's going to be also the theme for this year's parade, the sesquicentennial and Canada's 30th St. Patrick's Day parade here. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sean. I believe that there are questions of you and visiting members. Councillor Fletcher, do you have any questions?
No, I'll be speaking.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Frakadakis,
Yeah,
question?
thanks very much for your, well, actually, no, the question was actually to the speaker. Oh, sorry. It was about your social media campaign, and I'm just wondering, some of the other organizations that are on social media often write to councillors and say, like the food waste hero, like, and they said, oh, you know, if you can tweet out, and they give you a hashtag, and they give you things to promote. Do you have any of that? I mean, I know you
We
said
do.
you're a low tech, but I'm sure you have a team behind you that maybe you have something that you could provide to members of council with a hashtag, so that we can actually help you to promote this in the lead up to the parade and during the parade?
I believe we do. So I have the EMS here, Tony, who Troy runs the program for the food bank, where we collected over 6,000 pounds of food along the line of march last year. That started off with 1,000 pounds, went to It was, I think, 1,500, then it went to 6,000 pounds last year, where the EMS are using a social media platform, and we're now tying in creating video to promote the EMS and the food
So
bank.
do you think that you could provide members of council with, I see a couple people nodding their head right behind you, with some things to tweet out and get up on
Definitely.
Facebook? Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Frакadakis. Are there any further questions? Okay, so I have a few, Mr. Reddy, if you don't mind. So I've seen your slide deck, and you didn't really make any reference at all in your remarks to your slide deck, and maybe I missed it.
No,
I'm just wondering, are there some points in the slide deck that you wish to address this committee? And let me just finish the point, because what you just told me now, so I don't know when the parade starts, I don't know where it begins, I don't know where it ends, I don't know what all the additional activities associated with the St. Patrick's Day Parade and so on. Perhaps it would be helpful if you could give us a bit of an overview on that.
Thank you for guiding me.
No problem.
So the parade's on Sunday, March 19th. It starts at 12 o'clock at St. George and Bloor. It's a 3.5-kilometer long route. It goes east on St. George, on Bloor to Yonge Street, south to Queen, and then it comes up University Avenue and backs in behind 361 University of the Courthouse. The other events that are going on around it are that we have a breakfast that morning, which is a VIP breakfast that's held in the Sheraton at Quinn's, which is a sold-out invitation-only event at this stage. That's for our sponsors and local media to try and bring some eyeballs further to this event. And we have our Grand Marshal's Ball, which is held at Casa Loma for 500 people. And we've actually sold that event out too, where we have dignitaries, the Ambassador to Ireland, and a few other people showing up there. So we have some great support there. It's just the actual parade where I think we're remiss as far as getting the message out, maybe, and we're just reaching out, trying to get more eyeballs on this parade. So, and then I think I probably didn't mention is that we've planned another event, so we're not just a one-trick pony on Parade Day. We have an event that we've soft circled for Toronto Island and what they refer to as the shoulder season, when it's not so busy at Toronto Island. And we're looking at doing a Celtic day of dance. And we've reached out to different dance groups and different activities and see what we can build. And we're looking at about 2,000 people that have agreed to come over to Toronto Island. And we've secured the facility as Quinn's, which is there'll be a new brew pub, we hope, by then. But having said that, that's just for a family day, and it'll be starting at 10 in the morning and over at 8 o'clock. That's kind of our focus. As far as the nonprofits and other community groups in there, we have the Filipino Marching Band, we have the Jamaican Steel Band, the drums, we have a couple of other Celtic groups, we have some traditional dance, we have some other artists that are not normally traditional and attached to a St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're unique in that sense, but we are Toronto, so we've got an all-inclusive event, and that's something that we're pretty proud of.
And so what about the haggis?
That's Scottish.
Scottish, okay. So I've got my group wrong.
That's
Right.
like-
All
you're
right, so
supposed to
you know, I have to tell you, so just this morning, someone said to me, what about the haggis, Councillor Thompson? And I said, I don't know, I'm going to ask the St. Patrick's Day people, so I'm asking you. So it's the Scottish group that I have to ask that.
We're all Celts on St. Patrick's Day.
All right, fantastic. So just on a more serious note, though, what you're looking for is some assistance with respect to promoting the event, to allow people to understand that the parade and the ancillary activities are all taking place. Is that correct?
Correct. We've gone out in the last 4 years. I refer to it as turning the boat around the bathtub. The parade was basically defunct 4
Right.
years ago. When I came in, there was no money in the parade. So as opposed to going around where most people say, go to the banks, and they would actually, you'd think there'd be some TD Green in the St. Pat's machine,
Yep.
but it's not there.
Right.
So we reached out and looked for a different audience, and we found it. So now our issue is not funding. We're going to be fine. We can raise our own money, and we don't have to have our hand out at the civic, provincial, or federal level.
Right.
But what we are looking for is, I was in Montreal and I saw the support that they're getting in Montreal, and I felt a little envious. I thought, you know what, I have to at least come to Toronto, and I have to start putting my hand out and asking for help.
Fair enough.
That's basically what I'm here for, is just asking for help, to bring some awareness, send out a tweet, and as Councillor Fragedakis mentions, you know, send out the information, which is our responsibility, and that may be someplace where we can improve ourselves. But if we get it to you, we want to make sure that you're
So you want to see the city as involved as New York and other places in the U.S. that I see having big parades on St.
I
Patty's?
think that's what Michael was alluding to when he invited me, because he saw
Right.
the opportunity. We've got a 30-year history, and we've grown this, the meat, the potatoes are right there.
Sure,
We
okay.
got a meal, right? We're ready to share it with everybody, so it's an opportunity. It's an
Okay.
opportunity, I think it's right under your nose, right here.
Fantastic.
And just again, I wondered how long it'd take Sean to come around to start talking about potatoes, but I'm glad it took that long. But the event is, again, just an event to celebrate the Irish culture, the Irish heritage, as we said earlier, and I know Sean joked around earlier, but it is an inclusive event. It is not a political event. It is just to celebrate that, and it is inclusive. And again, in '88, when the parade was reconstituted, we had the Jamaican drum band, which we have, and I think one of the pipers who led that initial parade was married to a woman from Dublin, but he was from South America, somewhere around there. So it is an inclusive event. We're not there to, or the St. Patrick's Day Parade is not there to keep score or anything else. It's there just to celebrate and welcome anybody. And like we started this whole presentation off on that day, the feeling is everybody is Irish. It is an inclusive event.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, any further questions? Okay, seeing none, to speak, visiting council. Did you have a question?
Staff question.
Oh, okay, so,
staff.
fair enough, okay. So I will now invite visiting councilors to ask questions of staff. Go ahead, Councillor Fletcher, question?
Thank you. It's just about what our deputant said earlier about the parade, and we're going to say who's with us and who's against us. If you're not with us, you're against us. And that was quite concerning for me to hear that, particularly in the climate we're in. So I'm just wondering if the city, and I know we do have some protocols as far as supporting events are concerned, and I'm wondering if that attitude fits.
So parades are an important part of celebration in Toronto, and we provide logistical support when asked. If anybody's having trouble, it sounds like these folks have figured that out on their own. We don't financially support parades, with one or two notable exceptions. But what I have committed to Sean and to the organization is that we'll do all we can, and I believe there'll be a motion to this effect, to promote the parade and to give it some visibility. We don't have very many events in March, so from an economic and cultural perspective, this is a great opportunity.
So are you prepared to promote if you're not with us, you're against us, Mr. General Manager? As a motto for...
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, I think you heard the deputant
No.
say that they're going to let everybody know who is with them and who's against them. Very clearly, he said it twice. So I'm asking you if your support is carte blanche, or you're going to be able to ask them to kind of tweak that particular approach in the city of Toronto today.
As you know, I'm a very collaborative person,
point.
so I don't think it's again a for kind of question. It just is, can we maximize our efforts to help support the parade?
Wow.
Sorry, it's just a point of...
No, Mike, sorry. Actually, questions of staff now. All right, anything further, Councillor? Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, any further questions of staff? Okay, so let me just ask Mr. Williams. So, Mr. Williams, it is our policy to work with organizations in terms of promoting events that organizations are taking, as long as there are no, I guess, distinctive clash with respect to our rules around discrimination and so on. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So what has been asked, you are prepared to highlight the activity that's going to take place, and I've got a motion that I'm going to move around providing promotional and appropriate support. That would be your focus?
Correct.
All right. So I wasn't clear with respect to the question that Councillor Fletcher was asking about a specific, I would say, was it a tagline, Councillor Fletcher, that you mentioned? Was it a tagline? It wasn't clear to me, your question. But
approach that was identified here, that after, they're going to let people know who is there and who is with them and who's against them, and if you're not with us, you're against us, which
Right, okay, fair enough, thank you, I
I'm
appreciate
very
that.
clear.
Yeah, appreciate it. So, okay, thank you. Those are my questions for you, Mr. Williams. So, to speak, Councillor Fletcher, do you wish to
Yes.
speak? Thank you.
I'm actually afraid to speak in case I turn up in the not with you category, quite frankly. I've never in my life heard a deputant come here and say that from their event, they're going to say who's with them and who's against them based on who turns up, and then they're going to let everybody know. So given the climate currently in Toronto, which is a little difficult, that we have been at the mosques, we have been at many different places trying to say we're an inclusive community, we're an inclusive city, there's a climate of fear, we're defending our right to be together, and that is our... Could you turn this down a little bit in the box, please? It's really hot. Thank you very much. I'm getting feedback. So I think just even raising it, I'm feeling uncomfortable because of that attitude, which I think is a problematic attitude around a parade in Toronto streets in 2017. It may feel good, but if anybody else came here and said that, if it was a mosque that came here and said that, if it was Carabana that came here and said that, if it was anyone else who came here and said that, we would be extremely upset. I am extremely upset. I also, and this is no disrespect, that happy that Mr. McCormick is the Chief Marshal for the parade, but in the climate of relationships that we're also dealing with the police and certain communities, to have the Grand Marshal be part of a parade that says if you're not with us, you're against us, I think it's a very bad approach. I'm extremely disappointed, and your motion, I think, needs to be very clear. The city is about diversity is our strength, not if you're not with us, you're against us. And I would like to see that recast very, very clearly, because now I'm quite concerned. And I will say again, I don't want to be targeted on Twitter. I don't want to have people tell me I'm against the St. Patrick's Parade, and if I am, that will be very public. So I'm concerned, and I'm letting people here that are on this committee know, and I would urge you to be just as concerned as I am.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fletcher, for your remarks. Anyone else to speak? Councillor Kelly, did you wish to speak? You have the floor, Councillor Kelly. I do have a motion, yes. Yeah. Yeah, if the clerk can just give copies. Actually, if you wish, if it's probably more expedient, just to put it on the screen for members to read it before I speak.
Mr. Chair, I enthusiastically support the motion. At a Robbie Burns dinner a few years ago, I met a gentleman who was writing a social history of Canada, and he pointed out to me that, and I'm assuming his numbers are accurate, that up until the mid-70s, of the English-speaking population of Canada, close to 50% were of Scottish, Irish descent. That's a lot of people. The Irish and the Scots are a mainstream contributor to Canadian history and society. St. Patrick's Day Parade, in my eyes, is a chance for everyone to be Irish. And that means that we have a chance, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of how long we've been in Canada, to have some fun together. And I think this is the signal that winter is over and spring is coming. The grass will get green. The leaves will begin to appear. They're green. The St. Patrick's Day color is green. I think everything comes together. It's a rebirth of sun and warmth. And I think that Councillor Fletcher's interpretation does not accurately reflect the parade or its organizers or, their intent. I would urge everyone to be part of the celebrations. And I would hope that the city, at one point, I think the Irish and Scots were the majority in this city for a very long time. And I would hate to think that an expression of their enthusiasm at various times would be considered, if not unacceptable, certainly I'm not sure, I'm searching for other words because I want to be accurate, but summing up, Chair, I think that the City of Toronto should support the parade, should support the intent, and support the celebration. That's it. C'est tout.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. Anyone else to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to speak. My motion is on the screen. Members and visiting members of council have been able to see the motion. In essence, we're asking the general manager to provide request him to look at promotional opportunities to assist and other support that may be necessary to assist the St. Patrick's Day Parade Society in promoting the event. I actually heard what was said, but I actually didn't take it in the same manner that was said. I took it more as a sense of excitement, a sense of if you're not with us, we will know who's against us, and so on and so forth. Not in a verbose way, in terms of not in a derogatory way. I was just sort of more spirited, like we really want everybody to come, and that was more encouragement. That's how I received it, and I understand how it could be received in other manner. And so while the opportunity to go back to the speakers does not present itself, I think that we can draw from it what we want. And I think that with the nodding of the head saying, look, this is an inclusive event, this is an event where we want to inform the city as to what we're doing, and we'd like to have the city's assistance in helping us to kind of move the, if you will, the bar a little higher. I look at places with envy like New York and Chicago and other places where they have St. Paddy's Day Parade, and it's a big event. Okay, everybody comes out, people are cheering, and it doesn't matter what your cultural background is, everybody on that day is essentially Irish, right? All the food, all the people greeting one another and so on. That's what I associate with the parade and so on. And I think that is exactly what's going to happen going forward in 2017, 2018, and 2019, and so on and so forth. I understand with respect to the temperature of stuff and everyone getting concern about sometimes language and sort of the energy associated with language. But I didn't take the energy in a negative way. I took it more of we'll be watching in terms of who's supporting us, who's not supporting us, and maybe going out, knocking at your door next year to say, oh, by the way, you didn't show up this year. Can I tell you, can I show you something? This is what you missed, and so on. That's what I took from what was being said. That's what I got from it. So I just wanted to speak to that. And I've not met Sean, but I know Mike McCormick, and I will say that we may disagree with him on certain principles and so on and so forth. But what I think we can't disagree with him on is that he is a true Torontonian, someone who cares about our city, someone who wants to work for the betterment of our community and so on. And I will say this publicly, I consider him a friend from Scarborough, right? And so I don't say that lightly, because I think it's important that when we argue and disagree about things, we actually don't have to be disagreeable. It isn't personal, it is about specific about issues and so on. I didn't find this to be such that there was a threat or something that is contrary to what is our own policy in the City of Toronto, which is about diversity is our strength, which is about inclusion, which is about not supporting groups who are, if you will, adverse to other groups who have an interest in terms of participating in events, particularly as it relates to a city event. That's happening in the city, that the city is throwing either support by encouraging people to attend and so on. It's a family event, it's a wholesome event, it's an event that has taken place for over 30 years in this city, and we've heard there's been some challenges in terms of the organization and so on. Now that's being changed. And so I don't want us to take what was said as being somehow as a threat or being somehow as being derogatory in nature, because it was not intended to be so. How I receive it was actually very warm and encouraging in my view, and so I will speak to that with respect to ensuring that there's that understanding. So I'm moving this particular motion and asking the general manager to work with the group to figure out how we can help to promote them. And I would welcome the opportunity if someone sent to my office the ability for me to tweet out or me to tell the hundreds of people who are on my roster, in my database, to come to the St. Paddy's Day event. And if I'm available, I'd love to attend myself personally.
Thank you.
So, all right. Okay, so we have the motion. All those in favor, and I'd like a recorded vote on that, please, if you will, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor of Councillor Thompson's motion, Councillor Moser, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Holland, Chair Thompson, Councillor Fragedakis, that motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much, and luck of the Irish.
Thank you very much, and
good
we'll
luck.
hope to see you on the 19th.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe if you have a moment, and again, this is probably out of protocol, maybe if Councillor Fletcher has a moment just to come in, maybe just to chat with you, just to clarify, because I think maybe it would be good, if she's interested. Thank you. I know you can, Councillor Fletcher. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you. Moving right along, we are, sorry. Oh, sorry. Right, yes, yes. Moving right along, we are now moving to item number 2, is the Toronto on-screen industry. We have a speaker, and we will allow the staff to make their presentation first and foremost. Mr. Sheikh, you're here. You will introduce staff members who, I know you've got Eric with you, and Michelle, so I'll ask you to introduce the staff members at the appropriate time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I have a set of acknowledgements through this presentation. I'd like to obviously first acknowledge the data, and then I will acknowledge our team members who manage, help, support strategically and operationally this very good news data, but also it's quite a lot. It's a mouthful. So I'll get to the presentation. Eric, am I flipping through this myself?
I can't, if you want to switch seats, I can.
Okay, sure. I'll switch seats with you. Eric's the tech. I'm just like the, I don't have a sash, but yeah. I've been in front of the camera. I'm good, thanks. Thank you, Councillor, visiting. All right, I'm just going to take you through this presentation. This is our standard year in review as the industry did it. There's a lot of folks from the film board here. I think there are deputations. My team is with me, behind me. They're really the brains. I'm just the mouth, so I'll get to business now. Let's flip it. There you go. Let's go to the next one. This is a great news story. I just wanted to let you know that the total on-screen industry economic output in Toronto was another big high. That's the total is $3.26 billion, as you can see. And this output includes, just so you know, broadcasters, Canadian, obviously, interactive digital media folks, and the actual digital media film television productions. You see a comparison, 2015, 2016. The numbers do the talking. We'll let you get to questions if you wish. Let's flip the next, please. Total production investment in Toronto, little 2015, 2016 numbers. This is a record year. All right, slow down. Last time I was told to speed up. I was told don't waste the councillor's time, so I'm trying to not waste your time. $2 billion. That's true. This place does keep me on my toes. I've got to be like Ali here. The jump to the record $2 billion mark, which is a record. If you were in the media or heard about the media a couple of days ago, the film board chair, the economic chair, and the mayor were there announcing the numbers. It was a record $2 billion. It's attributable to increases across all the sectors of the production industry, particularly, and we'll highlight this, animation, VFX, which saw a 279% increase. So we've broken them down into music videos, animation, commercials. You can see the pie chart, and we'll get to some graphs, because the graphs tend to be very specific. 2016, the big jump. So this represents the total production investment trend in Toronto's economy since 2011. You'll see that. And then this big number, the 2016 number, you'll see a lot of it had to do with the animation and VFX numbers, combined with commercials and television, and we'll get to those specifics next. All major production investment types. So these are what we call major productions. They're specials, TV specials, feature films, and movies of the week, better known as MOWs. That's again the pie chart there, 2015, 2016. And when you break it down into graphs, this is what it looks like. That green little thing is not an Irish thing, but rather the USD Canadian line. So you can see, of course, while production does increase, it's really kept very steady. Our talented industries in front of and behind the screens, behind the scenes, can really keep this momentum alive, even when the dollar may seem economically for this industry kind of disadvantageous. It's not. But of course, when it dips, we see people staying here longer, more shooting, going into the VFX and animation, post-production, all that good stuff. Let's flip it to foreign major production investment. So this is foreign, which includes U.S. and international major production activity filmed in Toronto. Again, you'll see a big jump, 49% increase from last year. For me, it's always interesting to note, of course, because our film and entertainment industry started at a certain point in the history of these graphs and charts. So I'm very proud of our team, as you can tell, and you'll be able to tell more in a second when I acknowledge them. Okay, domestic major production investment. So this includes all the domestic major Canadian co-production. We've got over 80 treaties around the world, and this represents all that. I may not have all the stats of which countries, but I will tell you that this is what domestic counts as. Not just the Canadian productions, but also those that activate on a co-production level, because of course, Canadian talent in the labor force in front of and behind the scenes is the primary goal of those co-productions. So let's flip to feature film production investment. Good numbers. You can see the graph against the green as well. As it dips, it stays stable, and then this past couple of years was a great number. Let's move to television production investment. See again that this includes little, just to let you know, both domestic and foreign. Foreign does mean, U.S. means foreign for us, and we have a healthy relationship, again, as the mayor, chair of the film board and chair of economic development described recently in the media. This is a big jump for us, and this is a great story of obviously where technology is going, where the community is, where the talent is really starting to see some jump and swagger, if you will. And we've got a great quote from the president of CASO, the Computer Animation Studios of Ontario, Naisha Ali, who's on the film board and a big supporter. So if you can see this big jump, obviously, and the quote from Naisha Ali is, "The dramatic increase for 2016 is attributable to a combination of the quality and collaborative nature of the work done in Toronto, a stronger industry presence and exposure for our local animation, VFX houses, and the current level of the Canadian relative to the USD." So Naisha Ali is acknowledging, of course, that does help. Commercial production investment, another surprising and big jump. One of the things I want to let you know is that, of course, the province will be releasing their numbers. The province doesn't measure the data on commercials production investment because they don't go through that incentive program. So but at the city, of course, that production happens. Our talented people in front of and behind the scenes are really part of the workforce that make the commercials happen. And we've seen some, not just local commercials happen, but of course some commercials that might be considered films, like BMW shootings with some high-level, A-level talent stars who you'd see in movies online in commercials, and those get shot here as well, and that's part of this. A great number, 195% increase over there. Now we get to what our team really deals with. They deal with all the money, but this is where it starts getting really interesting for our team, and this is the level and pace at which they process this stuff. So if you can see the location filming projects, our permit team deals with that a lot, and our sector development talks about how do we increase it, and how do we balance it, and how do we keep a film-friendly city, as well as a city-friendly film industry, as our GM likes to say, and our board likes to echo, of course. So this is what happened. This represents the total number of projects of all types hosted in Toronto's various residential and business communities, as well as BIAs. And that's the impact. And we've all got to do a better job, I think, at the city, whether it's staff, council, and the industry, and hopefully the neighbors will get in on this action, kind of all that inclusivity will help, because of course it does impact our neighborhoods, that kind of success and that kind of work and that kind of activity. So hopefully this can help the data. All right, location filming shoot days. Just want to describe what a shooting day is for you, and you can see it, but I'll say it out loud for the folks. A shooting day is 1 day of production from start to wrap for one production company, on location or on street in residential and business communities, as well as BIAs, as permitted by the Toronto Film and Entertainment Industries Office. So what our team churns through on an annual basis, if you looked at the shoot days in 1 year, this year, they processed 7,280 days worth of filming in this city. We'll go to questions in a moment, but I'd like to acknowledge the team. And first of all, I want to acknowledge the folks that are sitting right beside me. That's Eric Jensen, the film manager for the permit team to my left, and Michelle Alasanek, the City of Toronto's first film screen sector development officer. And they really do, as what I call them, my CSO and my COO, really deserve a lot of the accolades, and definitely from me. So a big round of applause from me to you both. I'm going to let Eric recognize the film team, permit team, and folks, if you could stand up as your name gets, and we could just let people see. This is what's happening behind the scenes, everybody, on the first floor. There you go. Hit it, Eric.
Good morning. So from your right to left, we have Anna Markopoulos, Margaret Boland, Pamela Akasaka, Brendan Boyle, where did you go? Sorry, Bobby Donchez. Interchangeable. Kara Fine, Ariana Foyle, Brendan Boyle, and Kate Allen. Our admin support, Nadia, is downstairs because she doesn't like this stuff, so.
Nadia Gabriele. And I want to send a special shout out to Rose Lowe, who's busy on the 9th floor. She supports this whole team in so many ways, and definitely personally supports me in so many ways, so that I can be this title that is so long at the City of Toronto. There's so many experts in the room. There's deputations. There's our chair of the film board. I'm going to pass it over, as I said, to the brains. But if you have any specific questions for me, thank you very much. This has been a great year at the city.
I thought you were passing it over to the brains.
If you have questions, then I'll pass it over to the brains.
I thought Michelle was going to speak.
Oh, great, hey.
Because we've heard from Eric.
The brains do it.
I didn't hear from Michelle. What is this? Ladies should speak. Yeah. Michelle, you have something to say?
No, it's just been a remarkable year. It's been very heartening to have the mayor participate, and I think the impact of having the mayor twice go down to LA within 1 year's time has made a significant contribution to our industry. Our industry, we always, it's a very, very competitive industry. It's a global industry where this term of Hollywood North and runway production doesn't exist anymore. Quite honestly, the first time we were touring with the mayor, Warner Brothers, they were telling us runway production, LA cannot take on the amount of production that comes from them. So it is going to wherever the jurisdictions offer the best deal and offer the best expertise. And now it's becoming much more about a creative choice that happening is not just the studios, but the showrunners who are the creators and the producers of the shows, and the packaging agents who create this environment. And they're looking around the world, and we really want to focus on what makes Toronto different, what makes our jurisdiction stand out. Because 10 years ago, Atlanta wasn't a player. Atlanta's now a massive player in our industry. It used to be LA, New York, Toronto. Vancouver has amped up. Montreal has amped up. London has put a tremendous amount of attention and financing behind gearing themselves as to be a global leader. So we really want to focus on what makes us special. And we have so many attributes, and among that is that we have a community of screen stakeholders that is unusual in this world. When we go down to LA, and the mayor is our best advocate and our greatest ambassador, and we have 40 people came down for our last tour. We met up with people from the heads of Netflix to head of Annapurna, which is a company that does small, critically acclaimed films. So we can do everything from the tent poles to the Oscar winners. And when we have a community of competitors come down, and say, yes, we want to be here because we're behind the City of Toronto, we're a city of community, we're a city of inclusion and neighborhoods. That's such a strong message that goes much deeper than the fact that we have spectacular crews, spectacular locations, top-notch studios, but we have the best in the industry sitting behind us. 48-hour turnaround on permits is unheard of. This team works like dogs, and everybody knows it, but in the best possible way. So I just want to say congratulations to council and to the mayor and everyone for having so much faith in this industry and showing that to our investment partners. It's paid off, and we've only just begun.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Questions for our presenters? All right, so visiting councillors first. Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much. So I know we've had a record 6 years, which is brilliant. But my question is this. Now that Green Harvest is in Pinewood Studios for 5 plus probably 5 years, are we feeling the pinch with having that big studio tied up? And what are we doing to make more studio space for other smaller productions coming into town? And before you answer it, probably people don't know what Green Harvest is. Am I allowed to tell them? Green Harvest name is actually Star Trek, which is making a TV show here in our city, which is taking up a lot of our crew, but it's taking up that big space. So what are we doing to try and help production have more studio space?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor. So there's a number of initiatives that the Film Board is in fact taking on in terms of studies about the studio, in particular in our big asset of the Portlands area. There's of course our general manager on the city staff side who is working internally, and he's on various organizations, talking to possible investors, talking to our internal divisions that help in terms of planning and all that, about where things can go, and we're at Economic Development and Culture, we're about the packaging and selling the city. And then, of course, there's the mayor, councillor of the chair of Economic Development and Culture and the chair of the Film Board together. They have committed that this city is going to look at that infrastructure and raise the bar and up the game, because that's what's needed. So there are plans afoot. The mayor released an XOTO campaign, which was led by our team here as well, and ambassadored by both the chair of Economic Development and Culture and the chair of the television, the Film, Television, Digital Media Board, which outlines that what we're going to be doing, and we're happy to. It's online, and we're happy to forward you. It's great to see you so interested in that, and I'd love to connect outside of this. But yes, there are definite plans afoot, and we know where our needs are in terms of our capacity. We're very thankful that Star Trek is here, and we're thankful to CBS, and CBS has a great relationship with the city, which is great, and they're using Canadian production company, which is an amazing thing. So this is a really good news story, as well as an opportunity and a challenge to the city. Can you go higher? And as Michelle said, we've only just begun. I don't want to sing it.
A few years ago, we had a meeting in the members' lounge with a lot of production producers and people from film industry, and one of the things we talked about was greening film sets. How are we doing on that? I know it's tough not to have every crew member with a plastic bottle of water. I appreciate that. How are we doing with recycling?
Through the chair, thank you. So the studios that we deal with in the U.S. particularly have their own initiatives, and it's quite a community of initiatives, and it's a great thing. And there are members on our Film, Television, and Digital Media Board that ambassador that. And you'll also see later on, it's on AFS, so I think I can say it. There will be a strategy being released. There's Film Board members, and that will definitely have a green aspect to it. So you'll see what the city really means. It'll be asked to be passed through here. It'll be asked to be passed through council, in fact. So you'll have even more of an opportunity to ask then, because that green will be there, and not just on, for the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
I also know that our film crews, average age is 50-something, 60-something. What are we doing to bring in more young people into this amazing industry where there's so many different skills and jobs which are needed every day?
Through the chair, thank you. I have the good fortune of having worked in the industry before I came here to work at the city. So I've been on those sets, and I've been, at one time in my life, one of those young people new in the industry, and also one of the diverse people, frankly, in the industry. And I've looked around and sometimes not seen a lot of what I might consider my folks that look like me or just look different than me, but a lot of them. What we're doing is we're working actively with the unions and guilds. Some of those folks are on the Film, Television, and Digital Media Board, so they know what the aims of the city are, and their own aims are very diverse. And for the first time last week, Michelle, Eric, and myself, and the industry members presented to fellow divisions that look at employment and social services and connecting the folks that are working with the agencies that the province, the feds, and the cities fund. And for the first time, we had film and on-screen day. And to see that excitement, there's over 80,000 possibilities of newness in the industry, and I've got folks behind me that need that newness. This is a good news story. There are jobs in this industry, so we are looking for that diversity because guess what? That's what we're known for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher? Question?
Thank you, and thanks for a great presentation and all the.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, it is. Just such a quiet person.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, great news, and for all the great work you do. I just have one question about page 9, which shows everything's increasing, but domestic major production investment has decreased by 15%. I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about that. Is that typical? Are you surprised by that? Is there some way we have a strategy to increase that?
So first of all, there are factors outside this room and this city hall that can affect that. One of those is that actually the definition of how a U.S. and a co-production and a domestic production look and how you're defined has changed a bit. So we're seeing that in the past, what the data was that in fact, if they were using a Canadian studio, but it was U.S. money coming from it, that would still be potentially considered Canadian in some cases. Now it's definitely a U.S. production, so you see that in the foreign. So that doesn't mean that we've lost that business, it just means that it's being tracked differently. And then, really, yes, there are, of course, you'll hear notions and you'll hear all sorts of activity on the federal level and maybe even the provincial, mostly the federal level in terms of the CRTC and what it means to be Canadian and what it means to be a Canadian producer. Again, those are outside our realm, but here at the city, what we have always seen is that the domestic is buoyed by the international in the U.S., and in fact that it ups our game, and we're one of the few cities which can be more even than not when it comes to the domestic and international and U.S. There are other cities across this country who are going to show healthy numbers, of course, but their numbers may skew when it comes to that domestic health. We're seeing a lot of that activity, and in fact, we're a city that is, frankly, more like the American powerhouses, which not only have production happening in the city, but that $3.26 billion number that I alluded to earlier is about the business of the business that happens, and that whole business happens in this city. So it's your broadcasters, it's your employment jobs that are just about the media and the film, television, and digital media. So the leaders are here, as well as the labor talent in front of and behind the scenes. So together, you see a healthy domestic participation.
So then for pages 8 and 9, really, the decrease, that simply shifted up and shown in the 49% increase.
Essentially, it's that's the tracking. But of course, as I said, the CRTC and all those rules and the pick and plays and the broadcast stuff, that does affect the market, of course. And there's a healthy conversation going on about what it means to be a Canadian production and what it means to be a Canadian in general, I think, on a lot of levels of government.
Thanks. And then this year you have expanded your office even a little bit more. You've got some policy heft now in the film office, right? Do you have that
Yeah.
now? Is it throughout the music, the whole entertainment?
Film and entertainment industries, as our general manager conceived of it with City Council, is very robust, I think, strategically as well as operationally. We're always looking to be better. We're a new team as a team. Not that there aren't veterans at the city here who worked in disparate teams before then, but we're always learning. And yes, our policy game is getting better, but we have a great program support team at EDC who help with our policy. And those folks like Larissa and Ben who are sitting there are really our eyes and ears and our brains when it comes to that part of it, because the industry speaks a language, and Larissa and Ben and the folks there have to translate it to help city. And then there's councilors and board members who help that as well. But it's I think, a really good relationship.
So it just is evolving, continuing to grow to meet your challenge of keep it growing. We have to keep the film office, film, television, digital media office on track and growing as well?
Through the chair, I would say that, but then I'm hired by the city to speak about film and entertainment industry, so you bet I'll ambassador that every day and every minute.
And this budget, and I don't know if the general manager wants to speak about that, or you would like to, we put $180,000 in the enhancement in the budget in order to promote film. How will that be used for this coming year? And what's your plan to make sure that we keep growing this industry, what we control, our side that we control?
Through the chair and through my GM. So what that is really about supporting Toronto as its own brand ambassador, if you will, working internationally and working domestically. And so that input of resources really will go to the campaigns like XOTO, which already have a 5 points under them, which talk about our concierge services, our infrastructure guidance and support. We've got some green money, as the councillor talked about, so we've got some green campaign. There's, of course, travel involved on that, so you have to travel either across the country, travel across the city, and in some cases, as we've seen, travel to the U.S. and around the world, actually. This is an international game. $2 billion comes internationally, and the big cities are around the world, and they're the hubs. We're one of those hubs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Councillor Frакadakis?
So Councillor Fletcher basically asked my questions about the relationship between pages 8 and page 9, because the numbers seemed, and the tracking seems to be inverse, right? If it's increased on one page, it seems to be decreased by and large on the next slide. But I just wanted to pick up on what I think I understood from your comments is, so you're saying that the definition of domestic has changed over the years. Is that correct?
Reporting.
The reporting has changed.
The way they track domestic.
The way the reporting is done about because where the money is coming from. And then, as Michelle let me know earlier, that across the board on the Canadian broadcast side, we're seeing a 26% decrease when it comes to that. So that decrease is part of the impact. We're not going to, be shy about saying that because it's an important conversation. But yes, part of that tracking is if the money is coming from the U.S. Largely, then that's what's making that momentum happen. So that's why we track it that way.
Okay, well, thanks for that. I mean, it's a good news story. It's actually a great news story. So, we should get more great news stories out there. Keep up the good work.
Thank you to the chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Frакadakis. Councillor Holland, question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you, and congratulations to all of you and everybody coming up here today. It was a great, great report. And just further to what you were saying too, Zabe, I'm doing the tech and innovation file, and I'm going out there and we're doing amazing, amazing work within the city, but we're just not beating our own drum hard enough. And that's what I hear exactly with your group and with the hub, is that we're doing phenomenal work here. And you were just saying with that, we're going internationally, we're known as a hub, but what could we do to help you, or what could we be doing more to make sure that we are not so polite Canadians, that we don't beat the drum enough, or at least in Toronto, we should be doing more to advocate for that, for the hub?
Through the chair, thank you. I think the kind of momentum and our, sort of dedication to the dialogue here through the official forums that City Hall provides, I think, first of all, that's important. The more people talk about things, the more the public is affected by that. And then there's obviously opportunities for all the ward councillors. Thank you, Michelle. The XOTO campaign is about all the neighborhoods and becoming a city that recognizes, and neighborhoods that recognize that this is a success story and a fun story and a good news story, even though, yes, of course, it impacts, all things impact the city in challenging ways as well as positive. So the more our ward councillors can be supportive and informative as well. This is communication, and the more, if you need from us communication, that'd be great. We're here to communicate with you more about what's happening in your neighborhoods. Sometimes there are priority neighborhoods, if you will, as to how the location scouts see them, but the city across the board is getting filming. And if you feel that there's not enough filming happening in your ward and you'd like to see more, then talk to us too, and we're happy to try to help those productions know that this city exists and how can they help the city in that way. So that's important. And then, yes, supporting it internationally as well from a marketing standpoint, and get to know the companies out there, get to know the folks on your board, get to talk to councillors and who are interested in that, and they'll be your guides to that good news.
And just one further question is, as you know, we've had conversations about Ward 35, and we have quite a hub going on. Murdoch Mysteries is filmed in Ward 35, and been on their set. They do amazing work. We have lots of industrial lands, so employment lands that we want to protect because we've got film prop sets and whatnot going on there as well. And we're, you know, I've just been advocating for that as well and creating a secondary hub to Councillor Fletcher. I know she's done amazing work and has the primary hub, but there's always a need for more, and we want to continue to grow that. And so what, I should say the permits office is fantastic because we have lots of filming going on as well. But what can we do to enhance that or create other hubs even within the city?
Through the chair, thank you. So again, as I alluded to earlier, there's a film strategy going to be coming presented to committee and presented to council, and that's going to have a number of aspirational, operational, and strategic goals, if you will, and narratives around the film industry about where studios can be, if you will, where that infrastructure can grow as capital infrastructure, but as well as human infrastructure. And it's meant to grow across the city, not just in one or the other, because capacity means you spread out. That's how you deal with capacity, and you vertical and you horizontal that. So we're looking to that. The strategy is going to have that. If this will be a great dialogue as a strategy gets presented to talk about that, feed that, and when it gets, hopefully, as it gets passed, then it's about implementation, and we'll be looking to all the ward councillors to help us implement that strategy about infrastructure and film, television, digital media as a whole.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holland. Councillor Kelly?
We live in an age of tremendous technological change, and it just seems to be accelerating with each year. In most industries, that change is disruptive. What impact has it had on film, TV, or in all the aspects of entertainment that you're presenting today?
Through the chair, yes, absolutely. Technology is, like diversity, is actually a state of reality for us. It's not on the side or happening as well as, it's happening throughout. So the nature of broadcasting is changing, whether you're watching things on cable, whether you're grabbing it illegally, frankly, in some cases for folks online, or whether you're streaming it OTT, as they say, over the top, and going OTT with these numbers. Toronto is over the top, I'd say. So yes, it's a disruptor, but in fact, the folks that are doing the disrupting largely can be seen in this space, in whether they're in digital media, whether they're film. That idea of, you know, technology, if you will, if you look at the American model, if you look at Silicon Valley and Hollywood, those being the counterpoints, they're working very closely, A, because they have to, and because they need to up that game. So I would say that if we look at that trend, and how do we replicate that in Toronto, in the corridor, with the province, with the nation? You look at that technology, media, entertainment, connect, and then you add it to, Canada has a very unique thing. All the governments spend the most money on the ad buys. You look at the federal ad buy, you look at the provincial ad buy, potentially the city, I don't know about that, but definitely the feds and the province, they buy, they speak to us through the media. So we're all part of that disruption, and we're all part of how are we going to manage that message together. And there's money in that message, there's good news, and there's a chance for, as we talked about earlier, you know, through that other item, about social change and social inclusion. Follow the media, follow the money. Please, Michelle would like to say something.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. I'm going to give two examples of how technology has affected our industry recently. Holy cats. Netflix. Streaming. Netflix 6 years ago was not really a player in our industry. Everything was done broadcast on our television. Now they're streaming. When we were in Netflix, they're sitting on $6 billion of creative content production, 6B, and they didn't exist. We had a press conference before we went to LA. We went to Mr. X. It's a local visual effects production house. They started about 8 years ago with 6 people. They have over 330 people right now. So the way that the technology affects our industry is not just how we creative content, it's how it's distributed, it's how it is seen, and how we are able to keep up on the post-production visual effects side, how we have the top sound mixers in the world here, but how this massive golden age of cable has shifted the broadcast model, and that's strictly because now technology comes through your phone and comes through your iPad and it comes through your television in a different way. So it's a very adaptive format of, so this multi-platform world, and it's trying to get ahead of that. But we keep saying in our industry, content is key. As long as we can get ahead of content, and that will speak to Councillor Fragedakis as well about, and Councillor Fletcher, about the domestic industry. If we can keep our creative content, keep the creators here, own our IP, we will be pretty much bulletproof in the future.
I remember the debate on the major studio that we built here in Toronto, and as I remember it, it had two parts to it: the studio itself in its size, and as well the vision of an entertainment village around it. That would feed the studio or in some way be associated with it. And I haven't seen that second part realized.
Maybe I could help through the chair on that one. Councillor Fletcher obviously is a leading advocate for the vision that you just described. And for a long time, Pinewoods was just Pinewoods and there wasn't much around it. Pinewoods has increased their size. And now we have 6 active discussions going on with companies that are in that world that are looking at locating right around it. So I would agree with the observation that hasn't happened, but I would say yet, and it looks like it is going to happen. We just have to protect that space from development pressures and other challenges, and we seem to successfully do that. Planning is going to be bringing forward, along with Waterfront Toronto, a vision for the Portlands, which clearly puts a ring fence around that geography.
And if I can squeeze in one last question, Mr. Chair. Okay. We're going to be extending one of our roads south through the studio lands. Is that correct? And where does that proposal stand right now?
I can handle that again. I'm answering these questions because I also have a role in Toronto Portlands Company, which has 400 acres in this area. There is a long-term strategy to move Broadview all the way down to the ship channel and potentially across it. That's a long way away. It does slice through a little bit and then down the side of, but we don't feel it'll be negative to the long-term development of that area.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. Just a few questions from me. The importance of broadband to the industry. Your thoughts?
I
think I know it already.
Through the chair. So first of all, I just want to say that Economic Development and Culture, through our GM, is leading a concurrent study that's going on, not only as with the studio study and with our film strategy that's being built, but also a broadband study, and we're working with our policy team at EDC on building that, and there's a number of things going on, so we're on it.
Okay, fantastic. That's what I wanted to hear. Underwater studios for Toronto. Your thoughts?
Amazing, through the chair. First of all, yes, there are, of course, underwater facilities,
Yes.
And there, Pinewood, the conglomerate, owns some. They happen to be on the island. Michelle is... some of the studios in their development plans, and you can just say it out loud, Michelle.
Hi. Some of the studios, their development plans include water tanks. Yeah, they've identified that as absolutely a need, and we did hear that in LA at the showrunners dinner.
I'm sorry, the last part?
We heard that when at that showrunners dinner, that was a priority for a lot of the producers and creative types.
Right,
Having, it's almost as key as having like a school.
Sure. So what I was alluding to is that you're hearing from industry, labor, and everyone in the industry, a variety of things, and you're taking note and we're working on a plan to address those. Is that correct?
Through the chair, you are the chair. So absolutely. So what we're also doing is we've got a very active film, television, and digital media board. So they are our partners in so many ways, and so they're giving us a lot of feedback.
Right.
And so yeah, absolutely, we take all that and all our thoughts, all those things that you described are absolutely not only the industry's going concern, but at the city as well, and we're working together to make all those things a reality.
Right. To the question that Councillor Kelly asked about technology and how the role it plays and so on, I witnessed with you, Michelle, and others, the mayor, a situation where in Los Angeles, they were tuning or trying to define how a particular movie would be shown. And in Toronto, we had someone who was actually programming or putting the color and the sound effects to that right in Toronto. So my question then to you is, we're looking at space, we're looking at developing innovation, we're also looking at having that next generation, as the Councillor Holland asked about young people, I believe was about young people. So we're looking at those things, but I guess my question to you is that while we look at the issue around space, broadband and so on, there is a real difference in terms of shift, in terms of the role that we're playing in Toronto globally on a daily basis, in that activities are taking place, decisions are being made, communication is taking place, and actions are actually taking place that are necessarily not filming, but actually working to enhance the development of a film, which is beyond simply being on the streets in Toronto. Is that correct? Maybe if you can speak to that a bit.
That is correct, and some of that dialogue actually does happen within the City Hall at the Film, Television, and Digital Media Board meetings, and you can see that activity and that conversation taking place. And absolutely, we are in. What's good about what the city has created at Film and Entertainment Industries is that and we, you know, there's always we are a great city at working with less, and less is more and all that good stuff. But in this, we've built a good capacity for going into 2017. I'd say through the budget process, that we've got a really good team that's looking at things operationally. How do we better that relationship between city streets, our neighborhoods, and that production? And then, strategically, what's going on beyond that operational look? What's happening? What are the trends? Where are we headed? And thankfully, we've increased our board size and our variety of those folks that are the voices on that board. We're getting more diverse, and they're feeding us a lot of information in the new space and the old space and the current space.
Right. So at a time past, we used more sort of, I guess, dormant space, warehouses that were available. We made the conversion and so on. Now, is it your understanding that there is more of a need for more purpose-built facilities in the City of Toronto, as similar to Atlanta and other areas?
Thank you, Chair. That's an ongoing conversation about what is that happy, great mix. Of course, Toronto has a tradition of what it's had, and it also has purpose built, and that industry requires infrastructure right now. And so, there are plans afoot, and I'm sure that Councillor, the chair of, both chairs are here, or co-chairs of the board, can talk about, the work that's happening with TDSB in terms of just infrastructure, whether it's being utilized as it is for film and television and digital media, or whether it's being purpose-built for those purposes specifically with those capacities in mind when it comes to height and ventilation, all that stuff, the specs, if you will. That conversation it's an ebb and flow, and it really will, how balanced we are in Toronto with the approach that is, I think, the key to our success. That diversity inclusion isn't just about residents, it's about platforms, it's about technology, and it's about how we work with our business. And I'd say a happy mix. Toronto is traditionally the best when it's in a happy mix. That's why we're leading edge.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, members, thank you for your presentation, team. We would now like to ask Jonathan Ahi, who is a Toronto Film and Digital Media co-chair, as well as the NABET 700 members, Unifor president, and also Jonathan accompanied us to Los Angeles on our most recent trip. Jonathan, you have 5 minutes. You are no stranger to this committee, so welcome.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I came to speak about film, but now with the earlier presentation, I want to speak about haggis. I went to a boarding school with a rich Scottish history, and I can assure you that haggis is a pleasant meal, especially when it's your only option. So,
I'm going to try it with you, Jonathan, so
no
there.
problem, we will go. So just for the record, my name is Jonathan Ahi. I am the president of NABET 700M Unifor and the industry co-chair of the Toronto Film, Television and Digital Media Board, alongside my councillor co-chair, Councillor Paula Fletcher, who, if I may say so, works harder than anybody in industry to ensure the success of our industry. So thank you. I'm appearing before you today to acknowledge the support the city has provided over the years, which has been a major component of our 6 consecutive years of production volume in excess of $1 billion, and a critical part of our success in surpassing the $2 billion mark last year. So just to be clear, thank you. Thank you for helping make film, television, commercials, music videos, and digital media a monumental success here in the City of Toronto. But it's important to put the numbers presented by Zabe into context. And I could passionately speak for hours about the direct benefits your investment in our industry has created, but seeing as I only have a few minutes, I'll give you some of the key highlights. You have helped create and support more than 60,000 well-paying jobs in this great city, with a median salary well above provincial and federal averages. You have contributed to triple-digit growth in the interactive digital media sector, helping to literally create companies. In fact, an interesting stat, 46% of the interactive digital media companies that exist here in the city were incorporated in the last 6 years. You have helped raise the cultural profile of Toronto by making our city a place where excellent domestic stories can and have been created and then exported worldwide. Murdoch Mysteries was mentioned, and that's in 127 countries by last count. It's attracting foreign dollars in Toronto, and along with some Emmys and Oscars to note. You helped support the creation of World-Class Film Festival in TIFF and numerous other quality festivals that now thrive in Toronto and add to the vibrancy of our city. But I'm here to urge you not only to continue that support, but to expand it. Toronto is continuing to grow, and so too should one of its premier and economically vital industries. Currently, we have companies and individuals ready to invest in expanded studio space, whether it be purpose-built or refitted. They just need your help in locating land in both the Portlands and the city-wide. We have a labor force who has already started working with Toronto Employment Social Services, known as TESS, to help immediately employ underutilized individuals in the city and at-risk youth who may not have thrived in more traditional work environments but could find a prosperous home in the creative industries. We are working with Toronto District School Board to put co-op students out on film and television productions and develop experiential learning programs to encourage women and students with diverse ethnic backgrounds to consider careers in production. In fact, I'm going right from here to put 2 co-op students out on a production called Dark Matter and 2 on a production called Private Eyes, so that's an excellent step in the right direction. We have developed apprenticeship programs and have collaborated with colleges and universities to ensure that we are at the top of human and technological innovation. And our amazing film office, part of General Manager Mike Williams' Economic Development Division, headed by Zabe, Eric, and Michelle, who just spoke, have developed an XOTO campaign and work closely with productions on permitting and location management in an effort to support our neighborhoods and contribute to the livability of the city. If I may single out Eric Jensen as someone I've worked with very closely over the last few years for his work at the street level to ensure smooth interaction between the public, the productions, and the city. It's critical and essential to our success. So a big thank you to him for helping me through the last few years. Canada is making the transition from manufacturing economy to an information economy, and content creation is the new manufacturing economy. The content, the information, is always going to be required. The technology, with how it's consumed, is what's going to change. So being consistently over $1 billion in content creation is great. Surpassing $2 billion is outstanding. And making Toronto the premier jurisdiction for content creation going forward in North America would be historic. So it's easy to see that $2 billion mark for some and think we've accomplished our goals and there's no need or ability to go further. But I assure you there is room to grow, companies to build, jobs to create, and history to make. So thank you very much for your time, and I'm open to any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks very much, Jonathan. We do have questions from Councillor Doucette.
Hi, thank you very much. Yeah, NABET 700 is in my past. How many members do you have right now in your union?
So We don't use the term just members because we have just over 1,300 members, but there's a number of individuals that work towards membership who are directly employed in the industry for quite some time, so we call them permits. So the overall individuals we represent is in excess of 3,000 individuals.
And you mentioned you were putting co-op students onto shows, so you're working with the youth.
We are working, so we actually have worked to put out with Eva's Phoenix program before, but now through TDSB, because there was a big interest from them to have co-op students in arts programs and at-risk programs that they have, to see if that the film industry could be a potential successful career path for them. And so we've worked with them through the counselor who did the introductions to put co-op students out. It's a little more difficult with the film industry, just from the pace and the nature of the freelance world, but we've worked through with executives at TDSB to make sure that we can tackle those challenges. And our first pilot program is going to be 4 students, 2 out on Dark Matter and 2 out on Jason Pesey's production, Private Eyes. So I'm encouraged to see them start and see how they thrive. And the plan is then to roll that out to the other industry guilds, so the Directors Guild, ACTRA, Camera, all of them.
And I hope you'll come back to us in a year's time and tell us how many co-op students you've managed to catch and reel into the film industry, because I know it's addictive.
I look forward to it. I look forward to those numbers, so I absolutely will come back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions for Jonathan? Okay, Councillor Fletcher,
Thank you very much for your great work as co-chair of the film board. You're fantastic.
Under your guidance, I appreciate it.
And just, I think that a number of the unions and guilds do have this approach now of reaching out to bring permittees and get people permanently into the industry. And that was one of the things that you heard in Los Angeles. And the mayor came back and said he's going to step that up. Do you feel that we're on a good trajectory there?
Absolutely. So just the other day, I think Michelle and Zabe and Eric hinted at it, but the Toronto Employment and Social Services, they organized a meeting with a lot of the social employment program and providers in the city. And the Directors Guild was there, IATSE 873 was there, we were there. Others are planning to come and try to find underutilized individuals in the city and put them to work immediately in the film industry. We did that last summer on a one-off basis, and it worked out really well. We put 20 AZ drivers out on films out of a direct need, but also because they had a need as well. And so we looked at expanding that program, and we are working hard towards making that happen. I don't think that alone will be enough to deal with the 35% growth that we've had, so that's why we're reaching out to schools as well. I've spoken at the OFL, the Labor Education Center, the universities, Sheridan, Humber, Ryerson, all of them, the makeup colleges. So we've spoken to a lot of the schools, and we're working hard to pull people from a number of sources.
And this is going to be part of our strategic plan.
It absolutely is going to be part of our strategic plan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fletcher. Bringing it into committee. Any members of committee questions? Okay, seeing none, Jonathan, I just have one for you. So help me to understand the diversity game plan for your organization. I ask this question because I've been to a number of facilities across the city where it's not so much those in front of the camera, but those who are doing the construction of set, design, painting, a variety, and so on. I note that the diversity does not really reflect the city's diversity at this particular point, and I know that I'm always asked by a lot of young people, they say, well, I'd like to get into the business. Many are not necessarily interested in being in front of the camera, but they are interested in the highly skilled areas behind the scenes and setting up the design. I did saw the Star Trek set, and on that, I was obviously blown away by the work that was being done, but reflecting on that, I noticed that the diversity component wasn't really reflective what I hope that it would be.
It's a great point to note. And diversity and inclusivity is something that the cities wrestle with. We are the most diverse city, and we're working to be the most inclusive city, as the mayor said in LA. It's something that organizations wrestle with. We've wrestled with it both on gender issues and diversity issues in our own local. And we have created programs like going to speak. We're partnering up hopefully with Kiwanis Boys and Girls Clubs. Going to speak at the OFL was a good one because the individuals there were many individuals from diverse backgrounds. I had the privilege of speaking with an individual who's a new immigrant from Ethiopia who had worked on production in Ethiopia and wanted to work here but just didn't know how to get into the business. So we are expanding because you make an excellent point. And here's how I view it. When you don't see yourself reflected on screen, you absolutely aren't going to think about a job behind camera.
Right.
And so we need to work on that both on screen and off screen. And our co-op programs, for example, We looked at-risk youth and youth from diverse backgrounds as being prioritized for those positions. Toronto Employment Social Services, we looked at working with black youths, potentially who have minor criminal records that, to be fair, wouldn't be an issue if it was a white youth. And look at getting them employment opportunities. We have pushed our diversity inclusive programs on our own apprenticeships, making sure that, for example, our sound department is heavily male and heavily white. And I went and spoke at OEART, the school in London, for audio technologies, and the room was heavily male and heavily white. So it's about encouraging young individuals of diverse backgrounds to start thinking about careers in film, and that's why I believe the co-op program from TDSB is huge. Meeting with Kiwanis Boys and Girls Clubs or other organizations that want to promote young, diverse individuals to consider careers in films. If you can help direct them to us, I will absolutely take the time to try to explain to them how they can be best positioned to enter the film industry.
Okay. Might there be, and I appreciate the point about helping to direct, might there be, and I guess Pat Wilcox is here with Tess, that we figure out a way that as councillors we can play an additional role to assist you and many of the other member organizations who are obviously trying to increase the diversity component within the industry broadly, that we could reach into our community. We have a lot of young kids, whether or not it's Malvern and other places across the city, who are not necessarily involved with tests at the moment or not involved in some of the access to information. I just wanted to perhaps, hopefully, we can work together to define a way to be able to reach out. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely, and you have not just my commitment, but I would assure you the commitment of the stakeholders on the Toronto Film Television Digital Media Board, as well as those within the industry. It is something we're looking to try to tackle, and the only way, I firmly believe the only way you do it is together. So if there's ways that we can collaborate, things we haven't thought of, we absolutely will work with you to that end.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan. I have no further speakers listed on my green sheet. I'm just wondering if there's anybody else who wishes to speak on this particular issue.
Thank you for your time.
From the audience. Okay, seeing none. Members, I would like to now bring this in to the point where we have speakers. I will start off with Councillor Doucette and then work my way around this side of the table for members. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. I've actually been involved in the film business for over 35 years. When my children were young, I called myself a film widow, because when you work in the film business, you work very long and hard hours. My family experienced SARS. My family experienced the dollar and the US dollar and Canadian dollar being at par. Those were in the early 2000s, which aren't in our listings now. I had to go out and find a job because the film business almost died. And in some respects, you could say that's why I became a city councillor, because I had to go out and find a job. As a councillor, I'm thrilled that Ward 13 has a lot of big film productions, music videos, MOWs, feature, student productions constantly in High Park. So we experience in my ward conveniences and inconveniences from film production. So I have already met with Eric and Michelle, obviously, about the EXO Toronto, and I'm working with them to let our residents know, maybe not what they're, saying what their rights are is maybe a bit harsh, but getting them engaged, getting them excited, getting them involved with productions going on in our communities. Just in the last year and a half, my husband's worked on over 16 different productions. And I think it's always fun for residents to go to the movies, to see a music video, to see a commercial and recognize Toronto in the background. And I think that's how putting out there the productions which are coming, whether it's through NABET or IATSE or any of the unions, showing how much is going on in our city, I think that is very, very important. I do want to thank, and they've all gone. I wanted to thank the staff from the main office downstairs, because when I have residents contacting my office complaining that they've been told they have to move their car, but really they don't have to move their car, where do they park, why are the trucks on their streets? Some of the answers I have and some I don't. So the downstairs office is very quick, very good getting back to me so I can get back to my residents to, again, get them engaged, get them excited. One of the things I am thrilled to hear recently is that we are reaching out to youth. I worked with one of the unions several years ago with city staff, reaching out to troubled youth and getting them involved in film production. It's an exciting job, it's an exciting life, but when you have to be on set at 5 a.m. and you don't get home till after dark, and sometimes Saturdays and Sundays, and the TTC hasn't started when you have to be on set, and when you're there, you are working hard. Doesn't matter if you're carpentry, electrician, painter, props, sets, greens, any of those, you work really hard. And I think for some youth, they go in thinking the glitzy star, I'm going to meet all these amazing stars. They may see them from afar, but they're working so hard they actually don't get a chance to really see them. I think we lose youth on that way. But we know from the average age of our unions now, we need to bring the youth in. And it's one thing to bring the sons, the daughters, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles. We need to bring in other people. And we need to make the process of getting them on that permit list easier than it is right now and has been. So I thank you for reaching out to the youth. There are so many skills in the film industry, whether you're on set or you're post-production, pre-production. Almost anyone can work in some form of film business because it's just like a village in itself. So I appreciate you reaching out. Not only do I have a husband in the film business, I have a son in the film business as well. He went from props and sets after a couple of years, where actually he was an assistant property master within getting a permit in 3 months. So he went on a great show, did that for a while, learned a lot, but he's now in camera. So he says when he's 50 years old, he doesn't want to be lugging furniture and building sets. So he's in camera, and he has learned so much, and he has grown so much that he's already pulling focus. And what that means is what you see on that screen is what he has done. Now, in the old days, you stood at the camera and you changed the focus. Technology has changed it. So film business is a vital part of our city. We need to promote it. We need to support it. As you heard, 60,000 people are affected by it. I know my time is out, but I want to thank everyone, and I will keep popping back to this committee because we need this jobs, and we need to get our youth involved, and it's a great way of doing it. So
Thank you very much, Councillor. You're always welcome here. Councillor Fletcher?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to again express my deep appreciation to our fantastic staff at the Film, Television, Digital Media Office, the Entertainment Office, all of them, from our lead Commissioner Zabe, all the way down to those who are giving out those permits and working so hard all of the time. You've got a great staff and have done a great job this year. Thank you very much, Zabe, for the great work. And to my co-chair and Sarah Cornellis here, Chair of Infrastructure Committee, who side by side we're looking for studio spaces everywhere across the city. And what a great film board that we do have. And as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, the film board will be tabling its strat plan at this committee in April of this year, which I hope will answer a lot of the questions, and you'll feel that we've touched on and will be able to assist in a number of areas that you've identified today. In particular, that of what Mr. Williams said about protecting space, the importance of protecting existing studios. I think that we are working very hard with the board and the staff and the planning staff as well to make sure that we're not putting condos on top of film studios. That's not the intention of the city, and we need to be very purposeful about our economy. And because there are so many locations in film, 7,280 permits for one-day filming, that doesn't mean there's that many locations, but there are thousands and thousands of locations. It's not like it's just the studios, the big places where the filming is going on. So that locations means this is an industry that spreads out into every nook and cranny of the city. And the XOTO campaign is one where we really are looking at ensuring that it's comfortable for neighbors to have filming in their neighborhoods, but also that Torontonians understand that those very jobs that are being held there, It could be your neighbor, it could be your son, it could be your daughter, that's the next generation of jobs, and it's very important to support this industry. And I think they can be won over to that in another way. The training of new members into the industry is a great focus. From when the mayor went to Los Angeles the first time and heard, we need good crews, came back and said, we need good crews, let's step it up. And I'm so impressed with the just focus that there has been, particularly from the unions and guilds, and getting out there. IATSE's building a new training center. And as Mr. Ahi has talked about, getting the permits out, working with tests, finding new ways to get people into the industry that are looking for jobs, because there's a lot of job seekers. So this is actually a perfect union that we're building here. The other one is the growth, the tremendous growth in digital and visual effects. It's quite staggering to look. It's $260 million over 1 year has come into the economy from digital. And figuring out what the next steps are, what the pathway is for digital, what it's going to look like in 5 years, I think that's one of the most important things that we can do in the city, because it's a growing market that we need to capture. So all is good. We have great staff. We have a fantastic board. We have such support from our chair and from the general manager, and I know from this committee that we can just continue doing better and keep it growing, as Ms. Lozniak said today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fletcher. All right, members who are taking this matter into committee now. Speakers, Councillor Fragedakis, no? Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Kelly, speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm so proud of this city. When I meet people at conferences and they ask me where I'm from, my response is the center of the universe. And if I have to, now in a Canadian context, they respond, Toronto. But that isn't necessarily the international response. So if I have to elaborate, I describe it as the six in the city of Toronto. Remember one of the roundtables that we co-chaired? In one of them, a representative from Hacker Nest said that we've got to start boasting. Now, Canadians don't like to boast, but Torontonians should. We've got something to boast about. And the important aspect of it, I think, when I asked the Hacker Nest representative why we should boast, he said very simply, because we're competing internationally for skilled people and money. And so we've got an environment in which skilled people can realize the full potential of what they have to offer, and investors have a chance to invest their money in an industry that is not only growing, but is adapting as it grows. So I'm really delighted at the information that we've received today. And I would hope, Chair, that the rest of Council and the other participants in shaping Toronto's economic life will recognize the importance of the entertainment industry to not only today's economy, but the economy as it's going to be growing in the decades that lie ahead. So, well done, guys. What a time to be alive.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. Okay, sure.
Thanks, Councillor. So, Mr. Chair, through you, so I'm just going to echo exactly what Councillor Kelly was just saying, and especially, Zabe, what you were mentioning with tech and innovation, that it's threading right through. I mean, it's through every single industry, and especially in entertainment and, VR, like media, like just every single aspect of it. So, and what I constantly hear, I mean, everywhere I've gone in the last 2 years, just sort of pushing the tech and innovation file even before the portfolio, is that, they're in Hacker Nest and so many different firms and companies and startups and scale-ups, and and labs and innovation centers from big institutions and even people just starting out. So the issue is that we just really don't beat the drum enough. I just constantly hear that, and that we're humble, and that we are too polite, and we just aren't out there advocating for ourselves enough. And even when, places like Silicon Valley or even in Waterloo, like, we absolutely see those places first and foremost as centers for technology and innovation. But Toronto actually is even bigger and better, and yet it's not perceived that way, at least within a Canadian environment, but possibly a little bit more globally. And what can we do about it? I think that's the key piece, and in working with a lot of the CEOs and founders and figuring that piece out is really how to have and with Councillor Thompson, with the chair, and with Mike Williams, like, just really out there advocating for it and thinking about ways that we can sort of bring that message out in a better way. And I think that we are doing that. I mean, it's definitely not something where I hear people holding back. They are starting to beat that drum more. So I do think it's coming. And we don't want to replicate or copy. I think that Toronto is different in the sense that we cannot copy Silicon Valley or even Hollywood, let's say, because we are Toronto, and Toronto's multicultural. We have so many aspects from the media and from food and culture and multiculturalism and all these different aspects that it's like saying New York is Silicon Valley, which you cannot do. So this is the issue that we have, is creating really our own brand and doing that in a way that we can really create our own identity. And Toronto's done that. We've always done that, and we're fantastic at it, and we're going to continue to do that. And we have so many advocates here from all of you and all of your amazing work, and obviously from the committee and from councillors right across Toronto. So again, thanks so much for the work, for the report. You do amazing work out there, and love film. Obviously, you have so much going on in Ward 35. Love it, and going to continue to promote our hub in Ward 35 and the amazing work that's going on there. So thanks again.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holland. I'm going to say a big thanks to everybody. This has been about collaboration, everyone working together. And I recalled about 2.5 years ago, it seemed like a century ago, when we hired the new film commissioner and director of entertainment industries, Zabe Sheikh. I remember dancing, actually. I was dancing to Maestro Fresh Wes's Let Your Backbone Slide. And I know the media looked at me and thought, wow, dancing councillor, why is he dancing? Well, at the time I had issued a challenge to Mr. Sheikh. I said, you've got to grow this industry to $2 billion, because it's 1.5, we've sort of been verging on that. Now, I realize that he's not responsible for that totally or anything like that. It's a collaboration, the industry, investors, and so on. And we have an environment that everybody has spoken about that really curates this sort of sense of industry and sense of excellence, because this is about an excellent industry. This is about excellent unions. This is about excellent people participating and so on. But this is also about advocacy and excellence in advocacy in terms of the mayor, Councillor Fletcher. I don't know if you know this, but sometimes I'm speaking to Councillor Fletcher at 10 o'clock at night in my own home about film and television, all the things that she wants to make sure happens, because it really expresses her passion about this. She wants to make sure that this industry not simply survive, but thrive. So I want to thank you publicly, Councillor Fletcher, for your work on the film board, but also your work on protecting the very environment where the film industry really needs to grow and so on. And I've enjoyed working with you on this. The staff, I talk about Zabe, but he's got a team of people, Michelle, Eric, and all the other folks are involved. When we travel and we promote Toronto, I'm very proud to be part of that collaboration with the mayor and others. But I think it's really important, and I see that there are people in the media that are missing from this meeting. They tend to write stories about, oh my gosh, these guys are traveling what the heck are they doing? Well, here's the results. In collaboration with the industry and all the work that we do. I recall the meeting we had to talk about the mayor's trip to Los Angeles, and we were at Mr. X Studio, and all of the discussion going on. Councillor Fletcher, you recall you and I standing there with the mayor and others. Jonathan was there, and there were many others. So on. I remember some of the media, the way they sort of, disrespected the whole process because they looked at it as a junket and so on and so forth. And it's not dissimilar to what we're doing in economic development in general, and members of this committee and the hard work we do. These are the results that we expect to get when we invest in opportunities and working with industry and so on. So it's extremely important. The film sector is a really important center. I'm always asking myself when I watch a movie, well, how do they do that? As a result of this position that I hold as chair, I'm able to see a lot more of how they do that. And they're very creative men and women who work in the industry, which is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't tell you how many movies I watch on a monthly basis now because of Netflix, right? Because I don't have to leave my home to actually go to a theater. I don't have to worry about someone kicking my seat or throwing popcorn on my hair or anything like that, which has happened, right? And so it's really important. And so, but I'm participating, I'm involved, and we have a city that's renowned because of the talented men and women that are here. So I know we have some things to catch up on, the underwater studios, broadband investment, and the work that we have to do in this area because of the way technology is now incorporated. When we were in Los Angeles, we met so many Canadians who are top of the heap in Los Angeles. They're from Peterborough, they're from Toronto, they're from all parts of this country. They're doing great work there. And so Canadians are involved in this industry significantly. The last point I want to make, the view that senior executives in the film industry in Los Angeles have about Toronto is absolutely amazing. It is contagious. They are very proud of what we're doing here. And it's not a race between Los Angeles and Toronto. Toronto has its uniqueness to the industry as a whole. And you've got places like South Africa and all these other places that are in this business. We talk about Montreal, talk about Atlanta and so on. We have got to own this space for what we do and the technology and the talent that we bring forward. Because people have noticed now, we're no longer asking for permission, we're now part of that particular environment where we're succeeding. And it's about collaboration, it's about the work that the mayor does, Councillor Fletcher, and the staff, and all members of council, so we have to support this. And for the media who tend to fail to report, I will say this, just take a look at the results and let your backbone slide. Thank you. So I'm moving receipt of this particular item. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. Moving on to our next item, Madam Clerk. We have a presentation by the General Manager of Economic Development, Mr. Williams. It's his report. It's his 2016 report. So, Mr. Williams, you're on, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to get it teed up here. I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers at you to sort of summarize Economic Development and Culture Division's 2016 year.
Thank you.
First of all, we have a great team, and we've talked a lot about the Zabe's group, but we have 4 other sections, and I'll do shout-outs as we go through to make sure that the committee is well aware of how proud I am of the people I work with and work for. So we're going to go through 4 or 5 areas, which sort of, the Canada 150 is a highlight this year, as you would expect. And then we have 5 individual areas, which I'll just highlight some of the successes they've had. Part of this, and I actually didn't bring, Councillor Fragedakis is holding the annual report. She can be my Vanna White. So thank you very much. The report summarizes everything, so you can look at it at your leisure. One of the new things in the report this year is a 4-page behind the numbers a little description that gives a little bit more heart and soul to the description of the numbers. So let's start with the Canada 150. Everybody, I hope, is familiar with TO Canada with Love, honoring 150 years, which is the tagline for the city for our contributions to the celebrations and in some cases commemorations involved with 150 years in the city and in the country. The city is actually older than the country, as we all know, birthday right about now. We started off with the biggest event that I think has ever been held at Nathan Phillips Square. Over 60,000 people spilled out onto Queen Street and onto Bay Street to celebrate the inaugural day or moment of the year. It was also the significant amount of the city celebrations were telecast on CBC, which had a 1.7 million rating for the time that we were there. But that's only the start of the year. Over 30 major cultural events being planned for 2017. I'll highlight a couple of them for you. Memento, which is going to recognize the key moments, people, places of the last 150 years in Toronto. My City, My Six. Come up with 6 words that describe your admiration for the city. Live here, great city, very thankful. 6 words. That's my 6. I'll challenge Mr. Six himself to come up with his 6 at some stage and to tweet those out. Vimy, this is a commemoration part, coming of age of Canada as a nation in a war setting. It's a very unfortunate setting for it to happen, but it was the first time the Canadian battalions fought as a group and were victorious when many others had not been. We have a huge Indigenous Arts Festival celebrating in June, and of course July 1st, the real birthday for the 150th birthday, where we'll have celebrations here on Nathan Phillips Square, also at Scarborough Civic Centre, North York Civic Centre, and in South Etobicoke. Arts and Culture Services. Pat can take a lot of credit for everything that's on here in his 2 weeks here. In fact, the person sitting right behind Pat, Sally, of course, led the group for a while and can take significant credit for doing a great job on the first one, which is making sure that the city's $31 million in grant money that flows through to the cultural sector is done in a way that's peer-reviewed, defendable, transparent, and most importantly, impactful on our cultural world. So we have 30,000 city-branded cultural events that occur in this area. We had 17 million people go to those, and I'll talk about one of them in particular. 217 is a magic number with respect to the public art and the number of installations we have that we have to keep up. 1 million plus come to Nuit Blanche. It's a number very hard to estimate. That's the sort of bottom line number that we know we can defend. One of the largest in the world, and has a huge economic impact, as well as a fabulous celebration of visual art. We do a lot of work in the community ourselves, and here we 425 arts classes and a number of arts events and exhibits, and we do those out of the Assembly Hall, out of Cedar Ridge and Scarborough Assembly Hall in South Etobicoke, and we do that through the Lassos and in partnership with the Lassos, et cetera. And then other events such as Doors Open, big crowds that come and take a look at buildings that people don't normally get a chance to go into. Business Growth Services, led by George Spezza and his great team in trying to help make sure that we have the investment growth in the city and the job growth in the city. Here's some numbers in terms of what we do at the very local scale through BIAs and Mike Major's area. Both our sectors group and our business and retention and expansion group work on incubators. They work on lots of businesses, lots of investment generated. We worked on 50 major projects, generating $675 million in investment and almost 5 million square feet. And then finally, the most important number in many respects, either attracting or saving almost 14,000 jobs. We've talked about film and entertainment industries. They've gone through everything there, and we've recognized the team, and these numbers are all the numbers that you've seen already. I want to draw highlights to two things that are not in these numbers. That is, we have three things. One, we're very active in the music sector. We brought a report through to committee and council on the music industry in 2016. We also have a very vibrant visitor services unit that works with thousands of visitors to Toronto and people in Toronto who are trying to understand and visit other parts of Toronto. And then our special events group led by Harold Ma works with third-party special events to make sure that they're hugely successful all the way from the big events that happen across the city right through to a very local event. Museum and Heritage Services, led by Larry Ostola. We have almost 359,000 people visiting, over 300 or almost 400 projects or programs in 10 historical houses. And if I was to ask everybody in our division, name the 10, I think they'd all struggle to remember all 10 of them. But they're all unique, which is terrific for representing the heritage of Toronto, because we have a lot of variety to describe, and we do a lot of things there. We have a phenomenal artifacts collection at 2 different locations in Toronto, and we are responsible for hundreds of thousands of artifacts and over 1 million what do you call them? Things you find in the ground. I'm losing my nouns. Artifacts. And so we're custodians of Toronto's history. It's vitally important to do that, and we are very proud in what we do, and we activate, but most importantly, we respect and preserve and educate future generations about Toronto's past. We can't do any one of those 4 sections work that are managed by our directors without Pam Roberts and her group under program support that find money to help expand and implement or expand the programs that we offered. Over $3.2 million in cash, over $2.2 million in in-kind media support, which gets over 3 billion impressions, and those impressions that we get are a huge number for Doors Open, for Winterlicious. I didn't talk about that when we talked about special events, Winterlicious, Summerlicious, which are huge boosts for the restaurant industry at times when the business could slow down a little bit. Obviously, Nuit Blanche having over 1 million is our #1 impression generator, and you can see what we do for Cavalcade of Lights and our Summer Squares stuff, which I almost feel like we could unveil them today if it wasn't raining. That's the end of the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Members, you have questions for Mr. Williams? Anyone? Mr. Williams, your presentation was absolutely fantastic, very clear to everybody, and you've left them without questions, including me, so thank you. Although I will ask now if anyone wishes to speak to Mr. Williams' presentation.
Just very briefly.
Councillor Kelly?
This is a terrific salary. Chair of what's going on today and an explanation of why, all this stuff is happening. I'm going to be going to an international conference in the near future, and just wanted to ask Mr. Williams if there are more copies of this.
We did print
'Cause
them.
I want to, in a Tracy sort of way, brag about all the stuff that's going on in this great city. So well done.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank Mr. Williams and the team. I believe I'm going into my 6th year as the chair of this committee. Seems like only yesterday I started. Seventh year, yes. Thank you. I stand corrected. As I said, it seemed like yesterday. I can say that we have come a long way, very significantly. We have some amazingly talented men and women who are working in this area. I remember when I walked through, we did a sort of department walkthrough, and it wasn't really clear to me about the sort of harmony that existed and so on, but I know people were working hard. And I know that we have made some changes. We've made some tough choices. And all those changes and the choices that we've made have led to what I think is, and I've said this before, and I don't jokingly and kiddingly say this, I believe that this is the best department in the entire city of Toronto. And I know I'll get pushback from others and so on, and that's fine, but I'm entitled to my opinion because I work with this department, not necessarily the other one. So based on my opinion, this is one of the finest group of people working in the city of Toronto. The numbers speaks for themselves, but the numbers don't just kind of arrive. In fact, probably we have one of the smallest budget, actually, as it relates to the bigger ticket items and so on. But I can say this, the way this staff and this team of people are able to go out and create that synergy in the community and leverage the funds that we have in a big picture way and create what I usually talk about when I talk about economic development. We are sort of the first line that people tend to meet when they come to the square for major events. It is economic development that's putting those events on. At the end of the day, our celebration that began on the 31st, which start with the bringing in of the activities relating to Canada's 150. As the general manager pointed out the numbers, and I think the number is perhaps conservative, 60,000. We understand there's a lot more people who actually came and enjoy and experience the events. The general manager worked through the very things that we're doing in terms of helping business growth, and I know I haven't called George Spetz's name, but I know he and Pam and everyone else, Larry and of course Patrick, who's new to the group, have all really worked really hard. It's really tough sometimes for people to understand what's taking place and what's going on, and I know the amount of times that I've had the staff in my office working through a sort of big picture process and then drilling that down into execution and so on. I can say that this team is absolutely brilliant in their ability to execute. And I know, it's easy to say these things, word, because people tend to think, you're just kind of trying to make it sound really good. But again, this document helps us to elaborate on that, right? And so I really wanted to say how proud I am of this amazing group of people, the work we do on behalf of the residents of Toronto. You're actually getting full value residents by this outstanding team of people. I probably meet with Mike probably more than his wife does at the moment in terms of getting things done, in the sense that I'm always on the phone with him. He's in my office, we're talking and so on, and his team, about making sure that our place and what we do in this city is fully informed and it is fully effective in terms of helping those young people. Whether or not it's Enterprise Toronto and the work that Chris Rickett and the team does there. And we're reaching out to 38,000 plus people and another 100,000 people who come to the website to actually help, to look for help and information and so on. So there's a lot of work that's being done. The cultural sector, talked about, we've seen how it's grown, we've seen the investment we make. We are about to do both. We are about to sort of dust off our cultural plan. We're about to dust off our prosperity agenda in terms of refocusing, building on what we have done. And we're going to get this done before the end of the year. So there's been a lot of work that's been done. And I just simply wanted to say, it has been an absolute honor and a privilege to sit in this chair and watch that transformation and that change, because I think for the general public, you don't see it, but you reap the benefit and the results of it. But the outstanding men and women and simply Mr. Williams, your leadership, I think ought to be commended, and I thank you all very much for the outstanding work. And then finally, just members of this committee. We've seen a number of members change, but we've been very consistent in terms of the people who've been on this committee. The questions that you ask, the points and the motions that you move, and the expectation that we have from staff in terms of your involvement, I can just simply say it's been a real privilege to be associated with all the outstanding members of this committee. So thank you all very much. And the final thing I want to say, the group from TESS, because when we talk about economic, we always have to make sure that they're involved. When I took over, I asked that TESS be brought into this particular realm of economic development, because I thought it was so relevant for us to be able to always be watching what's happening in employment in this particular area. And Pat and her team, Pat Walcott and her team has been absolutely outstanding. So this great synergy that's brought us all together in terms of making a big difference is in fact creating that prosperity that we want for the City of Toronto. So thank you all very much, and I'm going to simply move receipt of the General Manager's presentation. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, thank you for your leadership. You are one of the hardest working chairs at City Hall, and I think all of us recognize that, and I'm privileged to be able to thank you publicly and personally for that leadership.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly. So all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I think we did that already. That's okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so moving right along, we're now on ED 19.8, review of city's partnership with Harbourfront Centre. Our good friend Kevin Curry, who's our President of Waterfront BIA, is here with us. Kevin, would you please come forward? And you're no stranger to this platform. You have 5 minutes to speak. Good to see you, Kevin.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson and councillors on the committee. I think it's really important to highlight the fact that Harbourfront Centre has played a vital role in the development and the prosperity of the waterfront. So in relation to the report that the General Manager's brought forward, item 1, I certainly endorse the continued funding that the city provides, at least as you work through the ongoing relationship. To item 2, I think it's important that you recognize that Harbourfront Centre has a core competency, and that competency, as you know, directed from its mandate, is around providing public programming, contemporary arts. But one of the things that was lacking when it was formed was an economic development component. And I think at this stage, there is a significant changing landscape in the waterfront. Waterfront Business Improvement Area has been in place now for about a little over 10 years. And it's been picking up, I'll say, picking up in those areas in regarding to bringing forward economic development to the area, sustaining businesses and such. And when you look at how the area has been developed, we've just completed a $100 million plus promenade. We have the East Bayfront is being developed. There's opportunities out there. At some point, the BIA currently functions between Yonge and Bathurst, and potentially would move out to Parliament. But as Harbourfront Centre is focused on its core competency, one of the things that I think you see in this report that they're challenged with is over the years, they've also been infilling all of the infrastructure. So there's a significant amount of their money that should be going to their programming and what their core competency is being diverted to sustaining civic infrastructure. As they've gone through that process over the last couple of years. In fact, the BIA has stepped in and started to infill that process. So we're now licensing components of parks so that we have the ability to go in and clean the basins. We're looking at the promenade. The promenade needs over and above upkeep. And that has all worked in partnership with Harbourfront Centre. You know, we have a great relationship. Hopefully we, you know, in fact, the BIA compensates them or is looking to compensate them for a clean streets process. But there are all continued, I guess, the report mentions several projects in and around Queens Quay. And I'll say the Bentway for one. Well, when the Bentway's completed, it's going to require a funding model all to itself. So there's dollars that are going to have to go to that. The 318 parking lot, which is a significant revenue contributor to Harbourfront Centre, also is a critical component to the business community, and we need parking spaces. And there was a request several years ago during the EA process that be looked at not just as a park, but as a potential development, maybe within the context of a park or reallocation. But certainly there's an opportunity to change that in a way that would continue to contribute financial support to the area. Of course, we have a joint interest in that. And, you know, all these projects also lead to the connections and wayfinding and such. And this is the role that BIA fills in. And again, this is taking the weight off of Harbourfront Centre to allow them to do what they're supposed to be doing. And to that end, we're looking at the waterfront as a district, as a unique district. It needs to be taken as a whole. It can't just be taken in the context of Harbourfront Centre and then everything else. I think there's an opportunity, and the BIA is exploring this. We're doing an extensive strategic business plan. We've started that process, and that approach is to identify the key stakeholders in the area and potential opportunities for us to develop and help the city develop civic infrastructure in a way that the BIA can contribute and that we can actually contribute dollars to the upkeep of the area. And with that, I think the BIA just needs to be more involved. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. Staff? Okay, that's my next. Okay, so now we have questions of staff. No question for Mr. Curry. Question of staff? Councilor Rakadakis?
Yeah, I have a brief question. It relates to the Harbourfront Foundation, and I'm just wondering, I noticed that their private donations make up 5% of their revenue, and I'm just wondering, is there something that prohibits them as a foundation from fundraising and development? And I'm new to the board. I haven't attended a board meeting yet, and I'm going to be getting my meeting with the new CEO, so I'm just wondering, does anyone on staff know if there's anything that prohibits them from like asking for private donations?
Right. My understanding is no, but that'll be something. I'm looking at the two folks from Waterfront or from Harbourfront as I answer this. Historically, it was a mechanism for some of the operations that they operate to flow the money through, but the CFO perhaps can do a better job of answering that question than me.
Members, I'm just going to defer a bit because we are sort of in and out of committee, so allow the CFO to answer your question. Councilor Rakadakis, please. Would you just state your name, please, sir?
Sorry, my name is Neil Kerr. So I'm the CFO of Harbourfront Centre. Been there for just around a year. Yeah, there's nothing to prevent the Harbourfront Foundation from raising funds. Currently, I think it's important, there is Harbourfront Corporation, which is separate, from the Harbourfront Foundation. Monies flowing into the Harbourfront Foundation essentially are profits from the Reece Street parking, as well as rental income from the Amsterdam Purina Causeway and the Radisson. So there's actually no donation revenue coming into the foundation. The 5% that you had referred to is a combination of both private sponsorships and donations. Our donation is probably about 1% of our total revenues,
Oh,
so it's not a lot.
there's nothing legal that prevents you from actually doing it. It's just not historically something that the foundation has done.
That's correct.
So is there, I know you've only been there for a year, and I've been there for 3 months, I guess, technically. Just wondering, is there like a plan to come up with a fund development, fundraising?
Yeah, over the past year, we engaged Ketchum Canada to assist, with the development of a strategic plan in that area.
Okay, well, I
So
guess
hopefully we'll
I'll
be able to reap
learn
the
more
benefits
about
of that.
later this month.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Any further question to staff from members? Okay, so I have a couple, Mr. Williams. So the report is seeking to do what in terms of the City of Toronto's ongoing support of Harbourfront? We're looking at an extension of the $750,000 that we provide annually to Harbourfront?
That's under a contract that expires at the end of March, which is why we need to bring the report to committee and council to get that extended while we do the full review.
Okay.
And it's also to update committee and council on the intricate relationships that exist between different areas of the city and different parts of Harbourfront. So it's to sort of increase the knowledge of the relationships and to gain approval for extending the commitment for 1 more year.
Right. You speak of the intricate relationship. When I look at the information here, the impression I have, well, of course, when you read the report, you get a different sense of it. But when I just look at it on the face of it, the impression is that the City of Toronto contributes $750,000 to the operating fund for Harbourfront Centre. Having been a board member, I'm aware that the City of Toronto does make other contributions through other areas. Could you perhaps help us to understand a little bit of that? It's not just $750,000 that's contributed by the city to Harbourfront, is it?
Oh, there's very significantly more than that. We have prepared a little chart to help educate committee and anybody watching, and Patrick, with Ben's help, is going to put it up on the overhead.
Okay.
So, through the chair, thank you.
This is your maiden comment to this committee. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. The first chart we're showing is just the proportion of the city's contribution to the overall revenue picture for Harbourfront Centre from 2016. So you'll see through the figures there that it's not a significant component of the overall revenue picture. Just 2.2% is our direct funding to their overall operations. That being said, of interest to the committee would be, as you had it, what makes up the city's contribution. The report tabled for committee outlined various categories of financial arrangements. As Michael Williams said, intricate and complicated. This chart displays just those that relate to ongoing annual operating. So there are various components of that. Mr. Williams just spoke to the contract that sunsets March 31. That's the lion's share of this, the $750,000 of annual operating that we're seeking a 1-year extension of in order to be able to review all the existing arrangements, find a way to streamline, and in coordination with the other funders, principally the federal government who provide $5 million a year in annual operating, figure out a way to ensure the ongoing sustainability, financial sustainability of the Harbourfront Centre in a way that, as Councillor Fragedakis has indicated, would take in certain other revenue tools available to the centre.
Fair enough. So,
Sorry, can I just, can you flip the other one back on, Ben? That's the direct, Patrick's just gone through the direct cash that we flow through either directly or through Toronto Arts Council, but we also have a significant fiscal impact on Harbourfront through the item on the the upper right quadrant there, which is the parking lots, specifically the parking lots that we lease for $1. I don't even know if it's that much, is it, Neil? And that the Harbourfront then gets to run the business, the parking business, and take the net profit and you apply it against the balance of their cash needs.
Fair enough. And so you talk a little bit about operating. Are there some capital component as well that we have not touched on?
So I can address that one. 10 years ago, when we signed the agreement with Harbourfront, we committed $3 million of PF Parks, Forestry, and Recreation's capital budget to them, and it was sort of looked at as going to be $300,000 a year. Because of the needs, they went through that $3 million faster than 10 years, and so we haven't given them any capital contribution for the last few years.
So then, my final question, I guess, is to ask, what is the economic, social, and cultural impact of Harbourfront Centre to the City of Toronto?
So we can't answer that question yet?
Okay, so will this be part of what your work and your report will be looking into, coming back to this committee?
We'll work with Harbourfront to be able to document that as best we can.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Speakers? Anyone to speak? Councillor? Okay. Okay, so I will speak. There's no doubt in my mind that Harbourfront Centre is a jewel in the city. And I've said this in the past, having spent time on the board for a number of years, this is where most Torontonians go for their cottage experience, their lake experience, their water experience, their cultural experience. This is where the, I guess, I'll use the term masala of flavor that I'm not the one originating that. I've heard that on a number of occasions are brought together and so on. The sight, smell, sound, just everything that is Toronto is reflected in this flavor at Harbourfront. And so there's no doubt that this is an entity that we need to ensure survives. Question is, how does that occur? I know having been on the board, there's always a strain every year about, additional resources and the demand that has actually come from the public for more things. And many of the things that are offered at Harbourfront, as I recall, are free. There are some paid activities, and that's fine, and the talent and people that they bring from all over the world for people to experience here, right in the heart of the City of Toronto. I know that exceptions and provisions have been made by the federal government, and Mr. Williams just pointed out about how, for the parking, we don't charge a large sum of money. It's a nominal amount, and generating the revenues that's generated from there is utilized for Harbourfront and so on. And I believe, as the information states here, with respect to their annual budget, which is, I think it was $35 million or something to that effect. And we know that not to be enough. And we know as well, my experience in Harbourfront, that it's a nimble operation. The people that work there are very talented as well, and they make do with what is considered, I guess by many, a lot of money, which is $35 million. But for Harbourfront Centre, for its operation, that's not a lot of money for, if you think about all the things that they do, the buildings, the maintenance, the operating costs and things like that. You have to look at it in its totality. You and I having $34 million is, wow, we're closing the shop, we're going on vacation forever, right? Harbourfront, quite frankly, they're still worrying about keeping the doors open with that amount of money. And so it's all relative, right? And so I think, because this is a facility that is important to Toronto, it's important to the federal government, it's important to the province as well, because it's important to all of the people here. What this is really important for us is that we need to review that relationship, all of the different elements and so on. Patrick and Mike are going to be doing that along with the folks from Harbourfront and so on to ensure that, we're able to deal with this and figuring out a perspective moving forward. I think that in Kevin's remarks about what the BIA is doing, that collaboration, that's extremely important as well. And so all of these things will hopefully come together and so on. So it's really a way to address and arrest, if you will, some of the challenges that have been at Harbourfront for a long period of time. And so I move the recommendations that are here, support the direction that we're going with this, and I'm looking forward to hearing through and reading about the social impact, cultural and economic impact of Harbourfront in terms of what it contributes to the city, because I know that when we invest in any entities here, people want to know what's the benefits, right? What are they? And we need to highlight those so that people have a better understanding and so on. So it really then speaks to what we're going to do in terms of our investment to this entity, which, as I said, if it were not to continue, there'll be a lot of people in this city who would be void of summer activity, summer entertainment, and the animation that takes place as a result of Harbourfront Centre in the waterfront area. I lived in the waterfront area for almost 10 years at Harbourfront, and it was like my backyard. It was my playing area. It was an area, so I know it quite well, and I know what the impact is to the general community there and the broader community as a whole. There are people from Scarborough who come to Harbourfront, from North York, from, of course, beyond our borders. We know that, but I'm just saying in terms of Toronto proper, Etobicoke and elsewhere, and so on and so forth, people are all coming to Harbourfront to have a wonderful experience and so on, and I think that has to continue. We have to support it. The question is, how do we kind of do this, and that we can't do it without a review, and so the extension is important so that Harbourfront has some resources to continue on, and then we do the review, and that will come back to us and so on, and we'll be making some decisions at that point. Okay, those are my remarks for Harbourfront. So all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Moving right along. Members, we just have one item left, and it's 5 minutes after 12. The item is the economic bulletin, and I really wanted the general manager to, first of all, are there anyone else with questions on this item? Okay, seeing none. I wanted the general manager to maybe just comment on the snapshot regarding the unemployment rate, and then I had a question on hourly wage rates and so on. So if you can just maybe just comment on that.
Well, certainly, sorry. Mr. Chair, the unemployment rate continues to be good news. It continues to inch down, narrowing the gap between ourselves and the provincial average and the national average. You may remember a number of years ago, we had a huge gap between the three unemployment rates. That has narrowed. I always should preempt any comment I make on the unemployment rate. These are based on small samples. It's an erratic series of statistics that occur, and some months it looks great news, and some months not so great. So it's over the longer haul, and if you take a look at the chart, the longer haul is positive for us, down at 7.2%. So that's historically for the time period that I've been here is the lowest, or almost the lowest. I think we spiked lower than that once. So, and that's good news because the participation rate is also going up, which is positive, which means the total number of employed residents is growing strongly.
Fantastic. On page 4, where you talk about the mean hourly rate and the median hourly rates and so on, could you perhaps just speak to that, which is the mean hourly rate? You've got, seeing in 2016, we had numbers of 26.48 and in December and 26.46 in January. January 27, that's January 2016. January 2017, I see a difference there, which is 26.24. The previous year was at 26.46.
Yeah, and I would sort of use my answer I just used, which was these numbers bounce around.
Okay.
Some small sample size. I think by and large we're in the ballpark. We tend to be a little bit higher than the national average because of the cost of living in the city. But the drop in January, I think, is probably a sampling issue more than a meaningful reflection of a poor wage situation.
Okay. And then my final question's around business bankruptcy. On page 1, basically, you've got the numbers. So you've got, when I look at this, November 2016, it has Canada and it has Toronto. The number in, can you help me with this number? It says most recent months 12, previous month 8, and same time last year was 20.
Correct. So that's good news from the point of view. I think, again, the measurement is exact, so this is not due to measurement, but it's probably it bounces around a little bit from month to month just because of the timing of when somebody finally files.
Okay.
But these are very small numbers for us, so it's great news, really, that the numbers are this low. The City of Toronto represents 10% of the national economy. So on that basis, you would expect us to have over 20 bankruptcies in a month compared to what Canada has, and we're at a smaller rate than that. So I take that as a very positive indicator of the strength of our current economy.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions further? No, this is the last item. No, you have a question? Please, no, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, it's just, I'm going with the mayor to Ward 35.
Oh, sorry?
I'm leaving to go with the mayor
Yes.
to Ward 35,
Yes.
and we're doing a walkabout.
Fantastic.
So if unless we're almost imminently done. Okay.
I just want to I thought you had a question.
Oh, no.
Oh, no problem. Okay, so I can move receipt of this particular item, which is 19.9, sorry. Move it up to adopt this item, as it is information here for, okay, so move adoption of this item. All those in favor, opposed, that's carried. All right, motion to adjourn, Councillor Kelly. All those in favor, opposed, that's carried. Thank you, and thank you very much to the wonderful team of clerk members who are here. Thank you. Okay, members, we are adjourned. Thank you. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.